What's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody?
Y'all about to hear some crazy shit.
And now, it's the Called Podcast. Live at the Called Studio in Trinity with Travis Powers and Brendan Powers.
We got Josh Carroll here.
Josh Carroll.
Yeah.
Hello.
Thanks
Hello,
for
man.
thanks for
Hello,
joining
boys
us.
and girls. Thank you for having me. I
Word.
feel like we're like in a capsule.
We are in a
This
capsule.
is
We
so
are.
cool. It's like you're leaving the world. We should put on 3D glasses.
That would be cool.
That'd be fun.
We should
we
have
were
some
really, like,
some like kind of like
goofy
outfits.
props.
Some
Yeah.
trippy like eyeballs falling down.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah,
you're talking about something real serious and the eyeballs are like going.
Yeah,
It's like,
just,
yeah, bro.
just like the mustache glasses with the nose.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. That'd be awesome, actually.
A wig. Yeah, it's like, pick your wig today, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Like mullet.
So
what I would
Josh, we don't really like to run conversations in here like very tight. We like to kind of let the conversations happen and then just kind of start digging into them, whatever happens to come out, you know? So, just to everybody listening, Josh Carroll is a pretty badass local musician.
I
I've heard.
have a hard time dealing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just start it out with this.
Okay.
So and this is like a complex.
Okay.
or
Okay.
something.
Okay. Cool.
Here we go.
No, it really is. It's like
That's
a
what's
complex. I've talked. There's this guy named Amiche. He's one of the coaches at my gym.
Okay.
And,
Cool.
Move Gymnastics. Got to plug him. But
Right.
anyway, he's like, "Hey
Nice.
man, I want to bring my wife out to come see you play." And I was like, I said this, and this is like right after COVID when stuff started opening back up, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Man, this is going to sound like so bizarre to you." And I think about it all the time,
Right.
but it's the first time I've actually said it.
Okay.
I said, "This is going to sound so strange, but I have this thing about people coming to see me.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like it's like if I know you and you're coming to see me, I feel like, oh boy, okay." Now,
Brings the weird level up.
Oh yeah,
or-
it does. It's almost like I tell this to people all the time. Like my ideal crowd is a bunch of people that I don't know
Oh yeah.
and that I'm never going to see again.
Of course.
Because it's like you kind of like you're. If anybody knows me, they know that I'm pretty like, matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really be this way behind a microphone with a guitar. You have to
Right.
be like, "Hey guys,
Oh right.
Tip your
look at that.
waitresses."
Hey, tip your bartender."
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So like then when you're up there doing it in front of people that you know,
They're like,
you feel like
that's
a
not the
fraud.
guy I know.
And then not only that, you feel like, okay, whoa. There's even a comedian because after I told this guy at my gym this, he sent me, he's like, "You sound like a comedian." He's got like an accent
Right.
from Israel.
Nice.
And he's like, "You sound like this comedian who basically he just says the same thing. Like he has a hard time, he feels guilty that people."
Huh.
So I get to this point where I'm like, if I see the look on their face and they look bored or tired,
Yeah.
I take it totally personal.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh,
you
yeah,
could have
yeah.
stayed home and watched your Netflix show, but
Right.
I feel bad.
Like it wasn't enough for them. Like you
Yeah,
owe
and
them-
maybe that's not even what they think. It's bizarre,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It's like reading people on a crazy, weird sort of like that's too much, man. Why do it?
So in that moment,
So that
it
you're
happens.
introducing me, man, and I'm already like, it's bizarre, man. It's
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah.
like, oh my god, I can't take
Yeah.
it. So now I just verbalize it because
Right.
it's some weird sort of psychological thing.
That's
So
good to know.
instead
though.
of just like thinking about it and be like, oh my god, I can't stand that he's doing that right now because I'm totally uncomfortable and I hate it. I
good.
just say it.
See, that's good though. That's what this is all about.
Because I don't
man.
know what else to do. Because now I don't feel comfortable. Because now I said it.
Yeah.
So when you're in that situation,
It's
and
awesome.
people are going to show up to watch you, that and it's going to happen.
Well,
right?
yeah, but I hope they don't. Isn't that weird? Oh, it's weird. Oh,
Yeah,
it's weird.
yeah,
Maybe
'cause-
that's how you know. Maybe you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. But then again,
I don't know, man.
it's
I don't
it
know.
all works out for some weird,
Right.
big picture snapshot purpose. I don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like maybe you're doing something. You ever done a job where you're
Yeah.
like, I know this is not what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm gonna do it.
Right.
Because I'm here and I'm going to give it my best. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
Even if it's not like this is what I'm called to do.
Right.
You know, you just you show up and you give 100% because otherwise, I mean,
Why are you doing it?
go big or go home.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean,
let's say they do show up and you got that feeling like, oh man, like How do you overcome that? You just got to keep going, right? You just
man,
you push through it.
You know, I get to lead worship at Kingdom Life in Hollywood, Holiday.
Oh, cool. It's not too far.
And it's a different kind of church because I've never really been exposed to like the gifting side of faith. I've always been. My dad was very middle of the road, gospel. Let's talk about. I want to talk to. He would talk to people at like 7-Eleven till 3 a.m. He didn't know who they were.
That's pretty cool.
And he would just talk. That it was all about the gospel of Christ. You know what I mean? It was never like tongues and gifts and this. And so I wasn't raised with any of that stuff.
Okay.
But, so this church. So then they've kind of been talking to me about it because I have 1,000 questions. I always do about everything. It's just the way I am. And then when you read so much of the Bible that talks about it, it's like, it'd be like a college professor saying, hey, here's the most important book of the class, but go ahead and rip out all of these pages because they don't mean anything.
True. Yeah.
How can you do that? You can't do that.
You know what that makes me think about is kind of what led me and Brandon here to kind of do something like we're doing is because I feel like a lot of people, they approach their faith that way. Right. So instead of like, I was reading through some old notes and it was like, here's what you do to kind of stay tuned to God's channel. You read, you listen, you wait, you pray, you repent, you do all these things to stay tuned. And then we kind of like, well, if he's reading me the Bible, then I don't really need to do that. This is good enough. We get that high for the week.
Right, exactly.
And then we carry it over every week. And that just kind of nailed it right there. That's a good analogy. Here's a book. Take these instructions and you don't need them.
Right.
And that's kind of like what I think is the enemy's plan.
Right.
That makes him happy when he doesn't have to do much work when you're doing it for him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I have a friend, just had a baby and this baby's probably 2 months old or something. Very, very young. And we talk and, the other day she goes, hey, Brandon, I hate to sound, she literally verbatim says, I hate to sound pushy, but I could use some prayer. And so I was like,
how cool is that?
I
said, well, that's
interesting way to set it up.
Well, right. And so then I started thinking, I'm like,
I don't know about that.
And I said, hey, it's my pleasure. I said, you're not being pushy. And then she says, paraphrase, she said something like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people don't pray. So I feel bad asking for it.
I've never heard anybody say that.
Right.
But I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people think about that.
But she's right.
Yeah.
Man. Cause like, that kind of got me thinking when she said that and the way that she said it. Hi, Kayla, by the way, if you're watching this, I'm talking about you, girl. So I just started thinking about that. And that's kind of sad that you have to feel like you have to ask someone permission and like dance on eggshells to basically be like, hey, would you pray for my situation? I'm going through a lot. And it's like, wait, what? Like, why? That shouldn't that shouldn't invoke guilt out of you.
Exactly.
But that's the way the world is.
Right.
That's kind of the way it is set up now, is that it's like people do have this weird guilt hanging over their head, or they feel like they can't talk about that stuff because they don't want to be judged or they don't want to be thrown under the bus. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's kind of what it seems like.
And they're just unsure.
Yeah. I mean, just unsure.
Trying to make sure I'm.
Yeah, you're good to go, man.
Yeah, you sound great, man. Yeah, it's good to go.
It's like it's a lot of unsurety because of the unpopularness of it in the political correctness realm. Right. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Right.
What can I? But isn't that the way it is for almost everything right now? I mean, what can you talk about? I mean, even when we're talking about dating a second ago before the podcast started. Even guys are petrified about what can I say to a girl?
Right.
What's allowed? You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean,
there's a lot to get your permission before you do anything.
Exactly, and it's tricky. So
it is tricky.
It's common so her saying that is kind of like
it made me kind of wake up to the idea like, well, this obviously isn't the first time that somebody's been like, no, why are you asking me that? It's like, wow. I just was like, I'm sorry that's the way that
right
is coming, I will absolutely do that, but actually I want to,
that's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
It almost would make me want to be like over the top, like absolutely no way.
Yeah.
Like no way.
Yeah.
Don't ever think about it like that.
Yeah.
Like anytime you feel like you need that.
Yeah.
You should feel comfortable.
Hit
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hit me a text or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's kind of what
That's so crazy.
That's kind of what I've established with her is I'm like, hey, listen, anytime you need to talk or anything, just text me. You know what I mean?
Dude.
I might not respond immediately if I'm, because you have an infant and you're up every 2 hours of the day at any given moment, but I'll definitely help you when I can. That, and something I've noticed too, which is really heartbreaking for me in my experience with people in the last 5-6 years is when you genuinely care about people, especially when it's like as a straight guy, if I'm talking to a straight girl and I say something like, well, hey, if you ever need any help or you ever need someone to talk to, just let me know, I'd love to have, and it's like, they don't trust you.
Yeah.
Because there's so many other people in this world, they use that card to get what they want. And that hurts me as a person. Maybe it's the artist part of me being sensitive and being an emotional person, but that kind of breaks my heart to think that there's a vast majority of people will use other people's emotions against them for their own benefit. And it's like that. I'm just like, oh man,
well, the thing is that honestly, when I think about that, there's kind of two sides of that coin. She's doing something right because she's protecting herself. So
sure.
So,
and she's also making sure that she's not coming across to you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, she's being a lady.
She's making sure that she knows that you respect boundaries.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe because there's a lot of people, especially in the Catholic circles. I mean, you're not going to go up to a cat. Like, people automatically just associate that with going to a priest, or, they don't think about the personal connection between Christians, even though the Catholics call themselves Christians. So, but they don't consider that whole, it's like them and the priest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can see
so
how
you're talking to somebody and you're
from the background standpoint,
right.
She could be influenced by that realm of thinking. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of where
You know what else I'm thinking is when we go back to ripping the pages out, we start to build this kind of idolatry of what type of Jesus or God you want to follow. And it's usually a convenient for me type. So exactly. I'm going to leave this out. I'm going to leave this in. I'm going to partition time around God around my time instead of my time as his time.
Yep.
And so if we were to go to church, that church should encourage you at some point to get a part of a small group where you're around other women, where you're and dudes are doing what we're doing or whatever. And a lot of problems can be solved in those vulnerable moments. And then that barrier between you and somebody else, not that you shouldn't do that, because what you're doing is absolutely awesome. And more people should know that a guy and a girl talking about something deep doesn't have to be sexual or intimate.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you don't have to be romantic in order to do that. And church should be a safe place for that. But we need to have the whole roundedness of what being a Christian or a God-fearing person is, and that would include the prayer, reaching out, and just her courage to come to somebody and pray for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
it takes a lot of courage, and that could be very well like I was saying, like where is the influence of her making that comment coming from? But it takes a lot of courage to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I hate to bring us to a darker note, but I would say, you know what, man, you might have met him too. Do you remember that one time we went to Topgolf?
No, I didn't go.
You didn't go?
I didn't go.
Oh,
no.
man, I invited you, but you didn't go.
Yeah.
Okay, so
my bad.
Well, anyway,
that's
so
cool.
there was a buddy of mine who I've known since he's back from my hometown. So he moved out here, or he came to visit with his ex-girlfriend now and kid. They came to visit, and this was maybe, I don't know, 7 years ago or something like that. Then he goes back a week later. He calls me. He goes, "Josh, we're moving there." I was like, "Sweet, that's crazy."
Wow.
And I've had a couple of friends and family members actually just recently. The same thing. Of course, Florida is a hotbed right now. I mean,
people
it's
want
a
to be
pretty
here.
big. Yeah, it's on the map.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, I got to go to Florida. You live in Florida. Oh man, you're so lucky.
We had a guy literally just tell us that 300 people a day are coming into Florida, dude.
300. I heard a lot more than that.
It's probably a growing number.
It's probably more now.
I heard a lot. But anyway, so he moved out here. They didn't work out, but he started a company that really started flourishing, like doing vehicle wraps and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
This is the last
What's
guy.
the name of the company?
It's Majestic Print.
Cool.
But what I'm about to tell you is the thing is he's not the kind of guy that you would have ever imagined to do what he did. Okay. He's just a positive thinker.
Cool.
Constantly figuring out ways to better himself. Then I find out he was dating this girl, and she tells him something that he was totally shocked by in relation to her messing around with a couple other guys while they're dating.
Ooh.
And then acting as though
It's fine.
he should just be fine with that.
Yeah.
And then he posts something on like Facebook, and this is like 6 months ago.
So it's fresh.
It's fresh. Post something on Facebook, something dash his name, and I won't say his name, but it kind of sent a flag for me. I was kind of like, that's weird. Who does that? So it's 6 a.m. I'm going to church. I'm getting ready to go play at Kingdom Life and Holiday. Plug in Kingdom.
Right.
But
amen.
So I call him up. I'm like, bro, what was
that?
That's weird. What's you doing? He's like, oh man. And he just sounds like rattled. He tells me what happens with this girl, but he tells me, I don't know, man. It just keep fading in and out. And I don't know, man. I'm just trying to get past it, And he's trying to play it off, but as he explains it to me, I start listening to him. I'm thinking, this is really, really messing with him.
Yeah.
But it's the last thing I would have imagined for him to commit suicide.
Oh,
it's the last thing. The last thing.
Wow.
And then the girl, and this is the craziest part. The girl that wrecked him, which it started out to be this like casual thing, but obviously everybody should know that sexuality is never casual. I mean,
right.
it's I don't even know it's biblical firstly, but secondarily there's something very, very attached to physics with it. It's very bonding.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Wow, that's awful,
spiritually. And so she messages me like the night before, like a couple weeks after I had that conversation with him, and says, hey, blah, 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 blah about that. It's like, it was like a couple weeks later, and I'm just melting. I immediately just was like, I can't believe that. And he's one of my good friends, like from back in my hometown.
That's awful. Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah. Well, it was tough. At first I was completely wrecked by it. But then I got irritated. I was like, he's got a kid. Why, And then of course your mind goes all kinds of directions, but it was all linked to what you said about that girl. It's just amazing because some people just don't even have any way to, they won't even know, like this last thing I would have imagined to do.
Yeah. Who would think?
Who would have thought that? And that I just completely was rocked by that for like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
I bet.
And because of the situation, the girl was like, all right, can you come speak at his funeral? You know what I mean? And I was like, at first I was like, yeah. And then I thought about it some more. And I'm like, she's going to ask me. She's like, I wanted to talk with you about it. And I'm like, she's going to ask me like
details and all this other stuff.
What do you think he did it? Why do you think he did it?
It became about,
and I'm not going to, I wouldn't be able to look at her and say, oh, well, I don't know, blah, blah. I know if I would have showed up, not even spitefully, but just because I'm truthful, I would have said, look, he did it because of what you told him.
Right.
If I'm not going to be that guy.
Yeah.
So I straight up called, I messaged her. I was like, hey, this sounds crazy, but I don't think I can come. It was the only option I knew to throw on the table.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see any other way.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to what you said, this is what I'm linking it to, is that, I don't know. I think that's been my sensitivity over the past 6 months, is that you just don't even really know, man. I mean, you don't know when somebody's going to do something like that. You don't know if not that they're capable of doing it.
Yeah.
So your feelers are just like, when something like that happens to you. I never lost anybody except my dad back in 2007, but as far as a friend or like another family member,
somebody really
first
close.
time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just messes with your psychology in a good way, in a lot of,
Wakes you up a little bit.
Right. Kind of like, what? I need to be a better friend.
Yeah.
I need to stop shelving and how can I make money? How can I, you know what I mean? How can I come up with more creative ways to make money and come up with more creative outlets to be able to do something and have purpose in my life? Me. Like, I need to stop shelving my relationships and really understand that those are investments that I need to be like plugging my time into.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah, I think
You know,
one of the things I think when me and you would speak when you'd come and see me at work and stuff, or we'd hang out or whatever, that thinking introspectively is difficult for a lot of people. And when you're something as serious as like being sexual with somebody, when it's casual, that's just an illusion.
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
100%.
You know, that's your mind playing tricks on you.
Well, and it's what has been plugged into society.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
it's completely adopted as a way of life.
I'm going to be
Right.
honest. That's my biggest setback in terms of the dating world. Is it just seems like 80% are not really interested in building a legitimate relationship.
Right.
They're just kind of looking for a distraction or something to do, something to suck up some of their time.
Yep.
And for me, I'm one of these people, like even in terms of like friendships, I don't have a lot of
Right.
friends. I
Yeah,
don't.
I'm the same.
And it's
yeah.
intentional. It's not that I don't like people or anything. It's just I've figured out a long, long time ago that keeping your circle smaller and more intimate in terms of like, I'd rather have 4 friends that I could call and say, hey man, I need you to go deliver $200 into my checking account. Here's the PIN.
Right.
And,
exactly.
and I know that nothing's going to happen.
There's no red flags with that choice.
Right.
Yeah, in your mind.
Versus 50, 60 friends that I couldn't trust them with anything. You know,
Right.
so that's just personal, but yeah, that's definitely a thing I've noticed. And I think that's all kind of like what you're saying with your friend and the situation. And, to me, and I'm not a psychologist or anything, but it just sounds like, that guy had an idea in his mind of what was happening. And then that girl had an idea in her mind as what was happening.
Precisely that. Yeah.
And it wasn't communicated that, hey, look, I'm not really looking to do all this stuff that you're looking to do. And I can relate to your friend a lot because I'm always trying to, one, give people the benefit of the doubt. You can kick
Right.
me in the chest and I'm going to go, oh, maybe he slipped.
right.
Maybe he tripped. I
Always
don't know.
assume the good thing, not
You always assume it was a mistake or you didn't really mean to do that. And then 2 is, I trust people maybe too easily. And I've had to learn not to do that because when you trust people too fast, you can get let down easily or whatever. So that doesn't mean I don't trust you.
I want to speak on that.
Okay.
Because this is something that's funny you're talking about that. I thought to myself right when you were talking, I was like, I wonder if he's going to start talking about trust. Because
Right,
if he
right.
does, man, this is going to be crazy. Because I literally, I talked to my brother about this last night and another person about this the other day. And that is I just think that majority of people go into the idea of trusting another human being with an incorrect expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like, first of all, how many times have you heard of somebody saying like, oh, this person would never do that?
Yeah,
then they-
yeah.
and
They're
then they
talking about
do
a
it.
person,
And
right,
then they
right,
do it.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Regardless, okay, this is the reality. And this is what I've kind of landed on. And really for my own safety, but more so, it's not even so much like, oh, he's guarded. It's more like about wisdom. It's like, how do we approach relationships with human beings? So we look at human beings are fallible. Okay.
Absolutely.
They
yeah.
are fallible. Okay. So I had a friend of mine, and I've thought this way about relationships for a very long time, and I had a friend of mine in Nashville when I lived there. He's one of my best friends. And I found out this girl was like, oh, this guy like talks a bunch of crap about you as soon as you leave. Like, it's crazy. And we didn't really want to say it to you, but,
It's the right thing to do.
and immediately I was like,
What?
well, okay. Well, no,
Oh, okay.
no, because I had a correct expectation for trusting another human being.
There
Think
you go.
about this.
That's healthy.
You have to have that because you're dealing with a fallible creature.
Yeah.
You can never put a human being on a pedestal and say, they would never do this to me.
You're absolutely
Why
right.
not?
Well,
Why not? Because they can do it.
Yeah.
Even the person that says, I would never, ever, 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 ever do that. It's like saying, okay, for example, imagine a guy, he's like the most passive, sweet guy in the world, and he's got 2 kids. And it's the last person in the world that you would ever imagine with like some kind of anger outburst. Okay?
Right.
Then somebody screws with his kid.
Yeah.
Then he gets
Right.
put in jail for murder.
Yeah.
Which has happened.
I mean, I would understand, but what I'm telling you is that nobody knows what anybody would do in any given circumstance.
That's
and
right.
so I think that
Right.
you have to frame trust correctly. Like in whether it's a bro, biological or buddy, a parent, a girlfriend, and even your kids. I told my son this the other day. I said, Jax, I said, look, there's going to be times I'm going to fail you. And there might be times when you would think Daddy would never do that. He would never do that. And it's possible that I might.
Right.
Not because I'm setting myself up to, but because I understand my own fallibility.
You're in touch with it.
I understand it.
Yeah.
I understand my own ability to fail.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the difference. And so when I found out my friend did that, I was I mad? Yeah, I was pissed.
Yeah. But you weren't shocked.
But I wasn't like, I can't believe it. Like a lot of people are when you were talking about a romantic, like I have buddies that like find out that a friend of mine not too long ago say, not just my suicide buddy, but another friend, like, yeah, I found out she cheated on me. It's like, and he was just shattered, bro. It's like, I never ever imagined for a second that she would do that. And
Right.
and that's the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I think that everybody, not just men, I think everybody needs to have correct expectations set for trust. If you don't, you're going to get wrecked. If you don't understand,
you gotta
if you're
step-
talking about God,
Right.
you can actually trust God through and through. Why?
Yeah,
Why
'cause
is
he
that?
doesn't change?
Because he's infallible. He's
Right.
not. He's perfect.
Yeah.
How can you place perfect trust toward an imperfect creature?
Right. Yeah, and we're prone to a lot of things. You know, human beings are prone
can't
to
do it.
emotions. You know, that's. I think 90% of it just comes from our emotion.
Right.
Emotions
Oh, absolutely.
are a weird sea to sail on.
But at least if you have like that undergirding, so to speak, like that backlog in your mind that says, you know what, I really do trust this person, but my trust is kind of contained within the bounds of it's quite possible that given the right circumstance, they can fail me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, then if it does happen, that's not to say that you're like, you know, emotionally bulletproof from the circumstance, but it does say that it's not going to shatter you down to a bit of nothing.
a lot of this, experience and recent thing with me and my relationship with God is kind of reprogramming my mind, how I respond to certain things, like the way you responded to what would shock a lot of people. And then when you start getting to the habit of doing that, you want to build things on God's foundation first because it's infallible and it doesn't move. And too many people think everybody's their friend. I just go out and I date, and instead of like taking things step by step, we like to start way up here.
Absolutely.
And then we're charged with, even if it is the right person, you're still charged with having to go back and build that foundation back up again.
That's right.
And people just, they go into things so casually I think the part about what makes it hard for some people to just commit themselves to God is there's non-negotiables with it.
Right.
And we live with non-negotiables every day, right? If you have a job, you have non-negotiables about what you do at work. You have to be on time. You can't say certain things. You got to dress a certain way. But then when it comes to like someone trying to give their life to God or whatever, a higher power, whatever you want to go with,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. You know, that works for me.
Hey man, come on.
And
We're the called.
yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
And you know, all of a sudden you have all these partitions and things that you want to, well, I got to do this first and then I can do that. And we're constantly trying to build ourselves up, go into relationships the wrong way, expect the wrong things out of people, and casually just, you know, live life,
Yep.
you know?
Well, it's like
Without a
it's like a
seatbelt.
blueprint. It's like so I went through a period of time where I literally for like 3 years was telling people I was an agnostic.
Okay.
You know, even
Yeah.
after having the whole Christ experience, you know, like being raised in church and like you know, having the whole like wow, Jesus loves me. It's like it's the same. You remember that show with Ty Pennington, driver, move that bus, and it was like you had the.
I missed that one.
It was like extreme home makeover.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And it'd be like they'd tell the people who own the house, like, okay, we're gonna put you off in a hotel. We're not gonna tell you what
Right.
you're gonna do. Then they'd come back, and it was like, clockwork. They'd see it, and they wouldn't know what to do except cry.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, first of all, it's a couple things. Imagining you're imagining running through their head, like, I don't deserve this. Why me?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And all it can do is melt down you emotionally. So the way I see Christ entering into people's realities is that same type of idea. It's like supernaturally somehow, it's like there's something that happens when people make a choice to follow Christ, where it's like their spirit knows that they've just been given something pretty valuable. And, and I don't know about you guys, but I know when I experienced Christ, it was a meltdown, man. I was like weeping for hours,
Right.
Didn't even know why I was 15. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like head down on a tree stump in the backyard of this Pentecostal camp when I was like 15. Didn't even know what was going on. And it's taken me years to really like be able to have an explanation. And it was like, for me, it was like, okay, something about that moment was that it told me that there was something that I needed. First of all, I was born with some deficiency as a human being, born into sin, apparently. Unknowing to me. You think about it. You didn't sign a contract going out of the womb like, okay, terms and agreements.
Right.
All right, here we go. You know what I mean? Nobody signs up for it.
Right.
So you're thinking, why me? Why was why was I born into sin? You know what I mean?
Right.
But however you want to spin it, that's the reality.
Right.
So somehow, some way, the life of Christ then gives you something that your reality needed. And something about that, man. It's why these songs, I don't care what anybody says, like the saddest country song in the world does not wreck me like a worship song will wreck me.
Yeah.
And everybody will agree with that. I'm telling you, you could ask anybody. They hear this song or that song that contains these words in it. Whether it's got scripture in it or something with the word or with the God reality in Jesus. It's something about it, man, that's just so much deeper than what we know with our senses.
Yeah. It softens your heart, man.
100%.
Man.
100%.
I was at church the other day and this girl was up there singing and the whole time I'm like,
I know.
nobody talk to me right now.
You're probably like me. Like I have like ugly cry face, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if I just like totally melted down right now, my face would just look like, it's like, and you can't talk.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
It happens to me sometimes when I'm leading worship. Like, when I'll be singing and I'm even with my son.
I've always wondered how people get through this, by the way, when they're up there and I'm like, how are you,
man,
how are you
I'm telling
singing?
you, because look, it's the love of Jesus.
You're
First
just
of all,
channeling
man.
it.
And that's the only way I know. I remember it was at the tail end of this agnostic spell of mine. I was mad because I was like, what do you mean God's love is perfect? What do you mean? Like we got people dying in Africa for no reason.
Right.
What do you mean his love's, my kid is my son. He could cut my legs off, go blow up a school. And I would still go to the judge and be like, look, just be easy on him.
Yeah.
And
That's the kind of love.
I'm imperfect.
Right.
I'm not even God.
Right.
And my love would extend even to that level. So what is this reality? Like, what is this thing with people having to suffer? If we're the kids and God's perfect and he has perfect love, what is the deal?
Right.
And I was mad.
Right.
I was mad.
I think that type thing is what a lot of agnostic people deal with.
Yep.
They start to wrestle
They can't
with God.
reason it. They can't reason it.
They start to wrestle with God.
100%.
And God kind of, I think he wants us to wrestle with them because that's a losing.
100. Look, that's what he called Israel, right?
Yeah.
One
God's wrestler.
who wrestles with God and wins.
Right.
You know how I always thought about it is it's kind of like when I was like 7 years old. I remember looking at my dad one time and being like, Daddy, let's wrestle.
Yeah.
And he's
dude.
like, all right, boy. You know what I mean? And he's literally sitting there with one hand on my forehead and I'm just going all out and I'm thinking I'm doing something great. And he's probably thinking about what we're going to do for lunch.
Yeah,
But that's how I think. Like it's not until, I just turned 30 last month.
Oh, you're old, bro.
Yeah, well,
I got you. I'm 39, man. Don't even talk.
Well, what I'm saying is now that I'm 30, I can't pull the dumb, young, stupid boy card. You know what I mean?
YOLO.
Like if I get pulled over by the police, they're gonna go, "Oh, this is a 30-year-old man. Book him." You know what I mean? They're not gonna be like, "Okay, buddy." Well,
I don't even want to hear your story, pal.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So, but what I'm getting at here is what I've realized more and more the older I get is I think there's a reason that God refers to us as children.
Yes, dude.
He doesn't call us.
I'm glad you're going there, man.
He doesn't call us his men. He calls us his children.
You're right.
Because when you think about this kind of stuff that we let bother us, and even today, this morning, I was ranting and raving about some earthly crap. Doesn't even matter. I'm not even going to talk about it. But it's like we're children to this whole thing because we okay. So just one thing, we do not have control of timeline in our life. We can work towards goals and we can set these things, but we don't really have control over the timeline. And so what I've seen a lot of my Christian friends do, and I'm not going to name any names, I've done it too, FYI, we've all done it, where you go, okay, God, I need help today, and just give me a sign, just send something into my life. And then he sends you that sign, and you're going to complain about how he did it and the manner in which he did it and the timing in which he did it.
Oh, man.
And you're sitting there like, well, that's not what I meant. Like a child.
You're saying it.
It's like a child. It's like when a little, I'm sure both of you have sons. I'm sure there was that moment where, your little boy's about to put his hand on the fryer or something, and you're like,
you're reading it,
and you're like, hey, bud, Jax, don't put the fork, don't put the fork in the outlet, buddy. He looks, you go, well, why not? And you're like, son,
so good. That's so funny,
son, because you don't understand because you're 4 and you're kind of stupid,
come on, bro.
You know what I mean?
You're pulling it.
I'm just saying, man. That's how I think we all. That's how.
No,
that's
you're it. That's it.
That's
what
the mistake.
That's what pulled me back out of the realms of being this agnostic. It's like, who the heck do I think I am?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a kid saying at 5 years old, Dad, I don't really like how you're running things around here.
Right.
Like,
I'm sure you don't.
You got a 5-year-old, you got a 4-year-old, and you got a 6-year-old. And they're all like conspiring in the backyard. Like, you know what? This organization's not really very effective.
Everybody go get their blankets and a stick. We're going to the end of the driveway.
I think we need to uproot and do our own thing.
Right.
And like, how ridiculous would that be at 5?
Well, they do it. I did it. I remember when I was like 6. I wasn't even mad.
I'm saying like, see ya, sayonara. But here's the thing, man. This is what brought me all the way back. First of all, it was leading up to this worship encounter that I had, where I was leading worship at a church some years back, and I basically that week, God had spoken to me through my kid. By the way, that's unbelievable when these things happen, because the amount of things that have been kind of downloaded into my brain via my child are out of this world.
Right.
I've come to realize that I should probably just put myself in the back seat and just be like, yeah, my kid's my teacher. I'm serious.
That's cool.
It's amazing. It's like you think you're going to be the one, and you are. Obviously, you're still the guide. But what led me up to it is there was this moment in time leading to that Sunday where my son was, it's like what you said is just like so on point with what I'm thinking, man.
That's
it's
funny.
Like, so he's running to the street, and, he was 3. And kids can only understand. This is why people think, talk about spanking. I'm going to talk about it, and I don't care. Okay.
Right.
Look, is anybody going to complain about putting a horse in a field and putting an electric fence around it?
Right.
Is anybody going to complain about that?
Right. Probably not.
No, they're not. They're not going to complain about that. Oh, that's just standard protocol. Okay.
Right.
Well, once you train the horse, guess what? You could turn the fence off, right?
True.
So the reality with kids is like when they're like 1 and you start to see their will rise up and you tell them no, and then they look at you like,
do it.
Yeah.
It's like, as soon as you see that, man, that's what the Bible talks about. Like, spare the rod, spoil the child. That's at the moment where you really do need to go in and turn on the electric fence, not out of any anger. Look, I remember at 1 year old, I don't care if I get in trouble with this. Jackson would, as soon as I started seeing that look in his face, like, I know Dad said that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the exact opposite. What I would do, man, is simply I would go pick him up. And my dad was the kind of guy who would do it like mad. He was a great dad.
Right.
He loved us all. I'm the oldest of 11 kids, and all of us would all agree our dad loved us. Okay, but he was pretty extreme, and it was a lot of anger. You know, see, the way I look at it was like, look, I don't want to hurt his feelings, but I want to make sure that if I say no, that holds some weight.
Right.
Yeah.
My boy's running to the street at 2 years old, 3 years old, and if I say no, he turns around and looks at me and laughs in my face. I mean, who's to blame for him dying on the street?
Right.
Right.
Me.
Right.
Yeah.
You have a
I
lot
ain't
of
risking that. I ain't risking that.
responsibility,
So I would be like, I pull his little pamper down, not mad. Just be like, okay, I got to create an electric fence.
Yep.
I'd pop his little rear a
Yeah.
couple
Right.
times, and then I'd hold him, let him cry it out, and be like, hey, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm just trying to get you to understand that there's certain things you just cannot do. So when you mention that, that's what happened to me, man. In my reality of God is that it was my son walking to the street, and I said, no. Okay. He turned around and looked at me, and bro, I swear they're like grown-ups in baby form or something.
Right.
They
Right.
look at you like, who are you? They look, who are you to tell me what to do? Like at 3, it's like, whoa, that's weird. You just looked at me like you're 50. Like, what's going on inside of you? You know?
Right. Right.
But I at the moment when he said that, all I could do was say no, because he didn't even. If I said semi truck, his English language is not even there.
He's like, okay, maybe truck, but what does that
But he
even
doesn't
mean?
even know what that means.
Right.
His understanding is limited. Okay,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, dude, it was like a light bulb went off. Bro.
Yeah.
And that was what led up to that following Sunday. It was like God orchestrated the whole thing. He knew exactly where I was at. And he had to gather me mentally.
Right.
He had to be able to wrap my head around his reality. It's like like you said earlier, like we're all children. We have the audacity to think that we should just have the right to know everything that God knows.
Right.
I don't think we'd want to, really.
Who are we?
Right.
Yeah.
I always
That's
say
like
that.
that's
I
like my
always say-
3-year-old saying, "What do you mean I can't go to the street?"
Yeah.
I always
Who
say
are you?
God. I always say
I can't tell you. I can't tell you.
Yeah.
You got to trust me.
Yeah.
I'm always
You know?
like,
That's big.
You know, God created us, and we have the mind and the heart and our soul and our bodies, and the last thing I think He created us for was one of us to come up with something He didn't know. So He gave us a mind to use, and when we're like of the flesh, so we kind of want to stay in the darkness, and we're attracted to that, and we want to handle relationships and should I do this as a father or not or whatever. But when we follow His instruction, it kind of purifies our body.
Amen.
He can
man.
speak through our hearts.
Absolutely.
And when we can listen and stay tuned to that, we're not relying on our own understanding.
Right.
And it's why it's good that we have moments like this. So like when you have an issue with like some worldly stuff and one of your brothers is close by and
Yep.
you're in that proximity, what's in your proximity and who sent those people?
Right. Exactly.
And what are they, how are they influencing you? And when you had that soft heart moment, you've had that foundation of God early in your life, and He promised you, I'll never leave you.
That's right.
Right. And
Yeah.
He's always been there patiently waiting,
Oh man.
patiently waiting. And that's what it says, I think in 2 Peter, is that he's not slow. He's patient.
Right.
Right. You can't create that moment for your son to go running in the street.
Right.
You can only
Exactly.
watch him and bring him back in.
That's it.
You know, and thank God you had that foundation. And I've wrestled with all those type of thoughts like that have steered me off the path. And I've recently just been really thankful that God has never left me, and that He's been patient with me, and I'm trying to give my wholeness to Him now. And I realize the value in that. I mean, even great people like Billy Graham would say, if I could do one thing differently, I would have prayed more,
Yeah.
you know?
That
And
was
you know what I'm
incredible.
saying? It's just like, wow, Billy Graham is still humble enough. And how many people came to see him, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's a little bit of, I got to be honest, like a little bit of like guilt in me that I didn't do this earlier, you know, but
Well,
that's not really important either.
Well,
you know,
it is. It is important because it's important how you frame it
right
in your own mind. Like, like for example, like I think about David a lot in the Bible. I think
That's cool.
Why in the world would God say that guy was a man after his own heart? Like, hold the phone.
Wait a minute.
That's such an old person phrase. Did I just say that?
Hold the phone.
Hold the phone.
Hey, we're for all audiences.
Yeah,
though.
dude. That's like, 80s, 90s, 89-year-olds, tune in, please.
Yeah.
But this guy, saw a girl that he wanted, and it happened to be a man's wife. Not only just any man, but like a guy who was like the leader, one of the generals in his army, like one of the front man, or something like that. I don't want to get my facts. Some theologians will probably be like, well, I don't know.
Excuse me.
He was, excuse me, hold on. Let's back that up. He wasn't really a general, Josh.
Yeah.
But he was like a frontline guy of some kind. He put him up there for the sole purpose of getting rid of him.
Right.
Knowing that if he put him there, he'd be able to have his wife. Okay.
Yeah.
Among many, many, many other things. So the thing that I've been able to understand about this is that I believe more than anything, what separated him was his decision for the intention to obey. And that right there, I think, is what separates everything. It's like you mess up, or you feel like you drifted away, or it's that intention that says, but I know you're my father. And it's like that prodigal son idea. I know, like, I don't even know what I'm doing here right now, because I'm like, I'm a dirt pile. Like, I mean,
Right.
I have no fathomable idea, like, how you even look at me and think that I'm something to you. But here I am. I'm back.
Right.
And regardless of what I've messed up.
Here's my
life.
heart. And that's
the
part
difference.
of those roundness things, right? Like the repentance part.
Yep.
We think I think a lot of people, they have that moment, that Jesus moment early in life or something, and they're saved and they repent that day, or maybe before they get baptized or something, and then they don't include that in their daily life. It's like we as a church, in an organized way, we go, we learn, and it's a great outlet for that. But the pastor's usually going, hey, you need to go here now, and you need to do this now. And then we start going, well, I got the feeling, right? Let me hold on to this feeling, and we want to be fed that.
Right.
So we put ourselves in these situations where, how can I be fed this week? Well,
Yeah,
I can go
right.
every Sunday, feel that feeling. I think it was brought up earlier, but it's like some people did the week to week thing. And that was me in a lot of ways, where I had to kind of like repent on that and be like, I'm kind of sorry that I didn't, have well-roundedness, and I didn't listen, and I didn't do the work that was being told to me to do.
Yeah.
And it's like,
But you're doing it now.
yeah. And
Yep.
that's the thing. It's like, we worry too much, I think, about where our seeds are going when we're casting them out.
That's right.
Right. And we're just supposed to be casting seeds, right? We're not really supposed to be worried. We're not doing the Holy Spirit's work for him.
Right.
And
We're just the bees.
yeah, they're going to
The
land on all.
bees.
Yeah, we're going to
The
land.
bees
We're just moving pollen around.
That's
It's
right.
There
not,
you go.
we don't get to control which flower takes the pollen or not.
Right.
That's not our job.
Exactly.
But we're getting pretty much at that time, boys. So let's kind of wrap up. It's going to be a long episode, which is awesome. But
Maybe we split it up in two.
It feels short. I don't know.
and
That's
they
weird.
go by like this, man.
Oh, man, it's
especially
wild.
when you start getting into something. But
Yeah.
Josh, I think it's apparent we got to get you back in.
This is so great.
Yeah,
What
and
you guys are doing.
Yeah, we can
Yes.
get back into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
the nitty.
The nitty.
And the gritty.
Yeah.
And the gritty.
Yeah. So guys, if you like what we're doing here, please subscribe, follow the channel. We're going to keep this moving. We're getting better and better.
Let's give a shout out real quick to Gabby.
Gabby.
Gabby, we love you.
Hey, Gabby. You're coming in
Hi.
here soon, right?
Maybe. Let's not push it. Let's not
Get in here.
But I really appreciate you coming through. And I think it served its purpose, and we'd love to have you back.
Oh, dude, I
and
love
bring
it.
a friend or whatever.
Bring
man.
a friend.
You know?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, dude, I love it. This is great. I appreciate
Perfect.
you guys having me. This is awesome.
Whoop, whoop. Cool.
Whoop,
All right,
whoop.
guys. We'll see you in a bit.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. Join us again next time for some more crazy stuff.
This is the Called Podcast with Travis Powers.